All right, Revelation 17, and we'll go ahead and go back to verse 5. And it says on her forehead a name was written. Name, and we're kind of backtracking a little bit, but let's read this again. The name was Mystery Babylon. We talked about the Babylonian religion. The Great, the mother of harlots and of the abominations of the earth. Now, this religious system that's being set up is, as we saw with Babel and the Babylonian system, it's everybody coming together. Without God, we can all just come together and we can do it. And so, it's the mother of harlots, of the abominations of the earth. What it is we have this one world religious system that comes together. And apparently what we've seen from the text is that there's going to be this confederacy, this false church system, and the Antichrist in the last days are going to work together. In fact, the false church system is going to help the Antichrist to get in that place of power. And he's going to be able to make that church system fly. And it could be that, remember, the false prophet is going to lead people to worship the beast. And it could be the worship leader of the whole thing. And so all of it comes together. And of course, it's all without God. They don't need God. That's the whole point of this religious system. You can make it fly by just working hard and making a bunch of rules and regulations and all of these things, of course, since they don't point to God, are an abomination to the Lord. And that's why he calls them here the harlots, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth, because it's the ultimate. We don't need God, and we can do it without Him. And so in verse 6, I saw the woman, and she was drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. Now, you can look throughout history of the Catholic Church and see that it's unprecedented how many people that were born again died at the stake, burned alive, because they did not bow the knee to the popes, and they did not bow the knee to the church at that time. And so the Catholic Church just dominated people. And of course, there are a lot of other world religions that have killed born-again Christians for centuries. And so you can read more about that, like I said, in Dave Hunt's book, The Woman Rides the Beast. But this woman, drunk with the blood of the saints, this woman was a part of taking the lives of these saints of God. And so it says, and when I saw her, I marveled with great amazement. That is something to take note of, because John saw all these happening, and he marveled with great amazement. And I believe he marveled because he was looking at a religious system, something that may have looked to him with on the exterior like, wow, they look like they're trying to follow God. They look like they are doing the works of God. But on the inside, it's dead. The core of it, the heart of it, is without God. It's vain. It's empty. It's godless, and it's profane, and it's an abomination. And John saw this, and he was amazed. He marveled. He said, "Man, this is just amazing how this system has gone on so long, and even taking the lives of the saints of God." He just marveled at that with great amazement. And then he goes on to say, "But the angel said to me, 'Why did you marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carries her, which has the 7 heads and the 10 horns.'" Like I said, this woman is riding the beast that carries her, that has 7 heads and 10 horns, referring to the Antichrist. And so the angel said, "John, why are you marveling at this? Why are you seeing that?" He says, "I tell you the mystery. I'm going to tell you what's going on." And so we come here. Here's this great harlot, this evil woman who, first of all, has corrupted the leaders of the earth. like I said, the imagery of this type of prostitution or unfaithfulness signifies man venturing off into false religions and dabbling in things that are ungodly. And so all of this is happening. And John is marveling at it, and the angel says, why are you marveling at all this? This false religion, this harlotry. And he goes on to say, the beast that you saw was and is not, and will ascend out of the bottomless pit and go to perdition. Now, the word perdition just basically means destruction. And so, and those who dwell on the earth will marvel, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they see the beast that was and is not, and yet is. Reference here in verse 8 that says the beast who was. I'm going to read to you a note out of one of Chuck Smith's commentaries. It is said of the beast that he was and is not and yet is. We are told that after he was and then wasn't, he will ascend out of the bottomless pit. Now, during his evil reign, Caesar Nero was called the beast by the early church because of his beastly activities. And some people suggest that Caesar Nero might even be the Antichrist. We don't know. That he died and will be brought back. I think that is an interesting possibility. Nero seemed to start out as a fairly good ruler. We know that Paul had a chance to witness to him, but later in his life he seemed to really flip out and go crazy and was like he was likely demon possessed. I don't believe in reincarnation, but perhaps that same demon that possessed Caesar Nero will come out of the abyss to possess the Antichrist. Of course, we can't be sure on these things. These things are just possibilities. So here we have the possibility of this beast who was, it says, and is not. So could be the same demon. We don't know. But we know that those who dwell on the earth, in verse 8, are going to marvel, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they see that the beast was and is not and yet is. So they're going to marvel at this. And it says in verse 9, here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. These are also 7 kings. Now, John identifies not only the woman, and not only the Antichrist, but the 7 heads on 7 mountains on which the woman sits. So it's identifying a city, a place. And, of course, we know that there's only one place like this. And the city of Rome is built on 7 hills. From ancient times, Rome has always been known as the city of 7 hills. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. And we know that also that the code word for Babylon was Rome. And so we see here in verse 10, it says, here is the mind which has, there are also 7 kings. 5 is fallen, 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he comes, he must continue a short time. The beast that was and is not is himself also the 8th, and is of the 7, and is going to perdition. Like I said, perdition is just destruction. And so, it says in verse 10, there are 7 kings. Okay? It says, first of all, we want to make something clear. That we've already identified the beast. Okay? He is going to ascend out of the abyss. We see the city of Rome identified. And John now is saying there's 7 kings, 5 of which are fallen. Now, at the time John wrote Revelation, remember, Domitian was the emperor of Rome. We mentioned that way back in the beginning of the study. He was the 6th in order. After him, there was one more emperor coming. There is one more coming. He is the 8th, but he is of the 7. Notice that. It seems that the Spirit is giving us something to think about here. Some understanding about the identity of the Antichrist. The beast that John saw was and is not, and shall ascend out of the abyss. Then he goes into perdition or destruction. And so that's where we get the possibility of that Nero being the one who would. And so it just sets in our hearts and our minds something to think about because of who Nero was and what he did and the destruction and the havoc that he brought upon believers. And so the Antichrist is definitely coming in the spirit of Caesar Nero, for his similar beastly activities that he did. And so, and remember, the number of the beast is 666, the number of man. And now, 11 says the beast that was and is not is himself also the eighth. And so, I think we covered all this pretty well. Stay tuned for the next one. We'll read from chapter 17, verse 12 to finish, which is 18. Lord bless you. Stay tuned.